a founder of Apple, and in my judgment, he was politely tolerated by most of the senior management infrastructure. And it's sort of the classic problem of the brilliant founder who sort of gets marginalized, and he's a great public figure, and he's sort of, the Marcom people are deifying him, and a lot of things are going on. But Steve was Steve. He had great values around simplicity. And the Lisa thing was being designed. He was very, very concerned about what it looked like. Hovey Kelly did the mouse design, and my first official decision was actually to sort of decide, pick the mouse. It was a very strange first decision. And, we had a 3-button mouse, we had a 2-button mouse, and we had a 1-button mouse. And Steve was there, and he said, "What do you think?" And I said, "I think it's extremely easy if you only have 1 button to push. You have to make a choice when you have 2 buttons to push, and it's really confusing when you have 3 buttons to push." So we started on 1 button and just never looked back.
Yeah, it turned out okay.
It was just very simple, and Steve was all for that, and that was the start of that particular effort.
And then a few years later, you joined another world leader in Sun Microsystems and got involved in hardware. You were the VP of hardware there.
Right, hardware and actually in software. Eric Schmidt and myself we started as I was VP of hardware, he was VP of software. I was there about a week, and we decided this was dumb. And so we sort of announced we were a pair.
I mean,
so we ran engineering together from then on.
Did it occur to you?
No hardware, software.
I mean, after your experience at Apple, even probably before that, you had the qualifications and the credibility to get funding and to start your own business. Did it ever occur to you to go out on your own and do the entrepreneurial thing?
No.
Not at that time?
No. The reason was because I was having far too much fun, and I really wanted to get involved in larger scale engineering and more aggressive engineering to do bolder things. And it turns out when you go to the venture world to get money, the venture capitalists understand they need to fund a new idea, because who's going to fund a General Motors to take on the U.S. auto industry? You're not going to do that. You're going to fund something new. But they tend to want specificity and early results. And I rarely found in my contacts the kinds of venture capitalists who were willing to not double down, but octuple down. Yeah. And put in 5 years of money and the hundreds of millions of dollars that was available to me at Sun.
And that led to the development of Java.
It led to the development of Spark. It led to the development of Java. It led to the development of Sun's graphics engine.
Still standards today.
Right. Yeah. Well, certainly Java is the biggest success there.
So in all of these experiences, you were, part of your job was to innovate. What does that mean, to really be an inventor within a corporation like that?
Well, I wasn't an inventor. My job, in my mind, was to create an environment where inventors could flourish.
Okay. The culture.
The culture. And second was sort of understanding broad technology trends. And where are the big technological discontinuities, and how can you apply technology to create breakthrough products? And so you take that understanding, and then you find people who you place bets on. And you at least I don't believe in I don't mind running multiple bets. I just don't like people competing with each other. You don't play one against the other, that kind of classical management stuff. I think that's absolutely dumb. Okay, so you just make bets on creative people, and you see what happens. And it fails, and it works.
I mean, you weren't even, you'd put in about 28, 30 years maybe, and your tender age of 48, you were retiring, getting ready to settle down in Santa Barbara, and that was your plan, and then what happened?
Oh, gee, well, what happened? Trying to think exactly, 48. Yeah, I sort of did telescopes for a while, just because that was sort of fun. And my lesson is never attempt to take your passionate hobby and turn it into a business. Okay, that's my lesson. Or if you're going to do that, go to some business school and figure out how to run a business first, because I sure didn't know how to. You're not objective about something you're totally passionate about. But I did that for a while, and then I really wanted to get into consumer software. I'd never done consumer software. So I went to a little company in Los Gatos called Care Corporation, which is an OCR company, and I was actually asked to go on the board, and then I got really interested in the company, so I decided to get involved in something totally different. And so for 3 years I did that. Then I decided, okay, fine, good. And then it was really retire this time and start working on a network of telescopes around the world. Very, very modest goal by what we're doing now, but I figured build 6 24-inch telescopes, put them 3 in the south, 3 in the north around the world, and put them on the network and work out of my home and do astronomy and make all this work. And that was going to be my retirement project. And then circumstances happened that somebody knew somebody who recommended me to somebody, and the next thing I knew, I get a phone call saying, asking for my advice on anyone I might know who might be interested in a job at a startup company. And I get these calls all the time, and I said, well, that's all very interesting, but until you tell me who the company is and what the job is, I can't really make any kind of an intelligent referral. Well, 5 minutes later, I said, I have the perfect person for you. He says, who's that? I said, me, I'm interested. And 17 or so weeks later, I think it was actually 13 weeks later, the fax
13
machine. 13
weeks of interviewing?
Yeah, 13 weeks
crazy.
of interviewing. Then the fax machine.
Is that a typical Google thing, 13 weeks of interview?
No. My particular circumstance, I think it may be urban legend, but it's rumored that there were something on the order of 80 candidates that they had gone through for a VP of engineering to replace my predecessor, Urs Horsla, who's UCSB professor, right, Klaus? Yeah, he was a professor at UCSB, and he was Google's first engineering VP, and he had the smarts to know that at 60 people, he wanted to stay creative and stay technical. So,
all right. So you take this job, and you're now responsible for the hardware side and the software side, all of engineering,
hardware, software, operations, and IT
of organizing the world's information.
Right. Even QuickBooks.
And you got 80 engineers, and even QuickBooks. Were you ever freaking out at all? Were you ever like sleepless nights? How am I going to get this done?
Not really. There were a couple of reasons why it was fairly straightforward. The way this worked, since I had moved here, is I got on the 6 o'clock flight out of Santa Barbara, and I'd tell my wife I'd see her Friday night, and I would arrive back Friday night after our beer bust, if you will. I'd arrive here about 9:30, and we'd go to Kyoto for sushi, and then I'd have the weekend. And God bless Google, I only had to work, I think, 2 weekends in 5 years, where I had to work. Now, traveling sometimes, but that was different.